Who doesn't want to fall in love? Keiki hopes to experience his own high school romance, and one day, his prayers are answered. He finds a love letter addressed to him, but with no name to go on, he only has one means of finding his mystery girl: a pair of underwear. He now has to figure out who among his female friends left the letter and their laundry out to dry. In the process, he has to navigate their fetishes, with him at the center of it all. Keiki is a high school boy that dreams of having a romance of his own. At school, he cleans up the calligraphy club room after his president, Sayuki, made a mess of it. His friends Mao and Yuika help, while he imports his little sister, Mizuha. After cleaning, he's overjoyed to discover a love letter addressed to him, but he's confused to see a pair of underwear next to it. He asks his friend Shuma for advice, and he remarks that it is like the fairy tale of Cinderella. Shuma says that since the letter was found in the club room, one of the club members must be the sender. After interacting with Sayuki and Yuika, he realizes that both have taken an interest in him. He feels as though girls have no reason to like him. But during a basketball game, Shoma points out that his desire to help those in need is a quality many girls would want. While spacing out staring at Mao, Keiki is hit by a ball and sent to the infirmary. Mao watches over him, and he senses that she too has feelings for him. Later, he finds Sayuki watching over a dog. The owner comes back to retrieve it, and Sayuki expresses jealousy towards the dog. She asks Keiki to caress her head as a reward, especially for her recent efforts at the calligraphy contest. When he arrives home, he learns from Mizuha that the last person to leave the club room yesterday was Sayuki. Keiki wants to confront her with this information the next day, but he ends up on a date with her instead. Sayuki thanks him for joining the calligraphy club and saving it from being dissolved, even though she knows he has no interest in calligraphy. But he says he enjoys just hanging out with her. When he says that he knows her secret, Sayuki begins avoiding him over the next few days. At his wit's end, Mao suggests that he do a kabedon to catch her. He does just that, and upon learning that he knows her secret, Sayuki asks him to meet her at the club room the next day. He drops by as planned, but he's shocked to see Sayuki wearing a collar, asking to be made his pet. Keiki is very understandably confused, and when Sayuki explains she wants to be owned by him, he says that doesn't help him comprehend the situation at all. She properly asks him to become her dominant master, but he flatly says no. Later, Okita, the calligraphy club advisor, commends Keiki on a job well done cleaning the room, but mentions that the room was unlocked. Keiki brings this to Shuma's attention, and they deduce that whoever left the letter and underwear hid in the room with him while he checked on the letter. While on the library duty with Yuika, Sayuki visits and begins smothering him. Yuika tells them that they're both way too close, and Sayuki drops the bomb that they have already gone out on a date. Yuika becomes jealous, and to make it up to her, Keiki agrees to go on a date. With Mizuha's help, Keiki expertly navigates their date by arriving early, complimenting her looks and taking her out on a movie she's a fan of. Later, they chat about the movie at a fast food restaurant. After taking her out shopping, Yuika feels the date is satisfactory, but while Keiki isn't looking, a group of guys start hitting on her. Keiki belatedly searches for her and rescues her from a tight spot. As a reward, Yuika gives him a kiss on the forehead. Keiki considers the date a resounding success. Shuma, a self-proclaimed lolicon, thinks that Yuika is also a good choice for Cinderella. Keiki responds to Yuika's message to meet her, but when he does, she suddenly asks him to be her slave. She removes her freshly worn underwear and stuffs it in his mouth, as she thinks this is what all boys are a fan of. As Keiki lies on the ground suffocating on fresh linen, he wonders if this is how he dies. Keiki passes out after suffocating on Yuika's underwear and awakens back at home. On the way to school, he strikes out both Sayuki and Yuika as his fated Cinderella. Thus, Mao is the last possible choice. While checking his locker, he discovers Yuika's bra. He confronts her about it, and she explains that it is a normal present for her to give. She asks if she could recite a picture book she has been working on, The Shy Princess. Keiki is curious and hears her out, but is horrified that the picture book meant for kids illustrates a princess kidnapping, sedating, and imprisoning a prince. Yuika says she plans to mold Keiki into her slave, and he runs out in a hurry. When he checks his locker, he discovers a photo of him and a disheveled Sayuki, with a note threatening to share it if he does not go to the club room. When he arrives, he's dismayed to find Sayuki in a maid outfit. She asks him for any requests, and his one wish is for her to change her clothes. She says that the key to unlock her handcuffs fell down her twin peaks. With no other choice, Keiki dives in and retrieves the key. Sayuki renews her invitation for him to be her master, and although Keiki's angel and devil tell him that her chest was the absolute best, he says such a relationship is meaningless without love. The next day, Keiki decides that Mao is the only one who could have left him that letter. Shoma agrees, often noticing Mao staring at Keiki. Later, Keiki is tricked by Yuika and ends up bound in rope. As punishment for going to see Sayuki, Yuika asks him to choose between kissing her feet or having his first kiss stolen by her. Suddenly, Sayuki bursts in the room, proudly proclaiming that stalking Keiki is her hobby. The two begin fighting over Keiki, and when Mao sees them, she dives in and rescues him. She then complains about him spoiling both Yuika and Sayuki and demands that he stay away from them. Things have become awkward between Keiki and Mao. Yuika and Sayuki both apologize for how they acted the previous day, and they agree to tone down their aggressive advances. Both encourage him to reconcile with Mao. He tries to do just that, and Mao brings up the fact that they haven't hung out in a while, even though they used to a lot before with Shuma. They play together at a nearby arcade, and Mao snaps pictures of them after Shuma accidentally gives Keiki a kabedon. Keiki walks Mao home and she asks him if he ever considered taking their relationship to the next level. Before he can reply, a sudden downpour forces them to seek shelter. They share a moment together, and Mao calls him a sexual harassment sergeant for staring at her chest. He leaves to get her some canned coffee, but he spots her looking at a photo of Shuma. He assumes that she likes Shuma, and their relationship becomes strained again. They refrain from speaking to one another over the next few days. Shuma is a bit lost on what to do, while Sayuki and Yuika, who notice that Keiki's demeanor has changed, try encouraging him to patch things up. Keiki is reluctant to speak to Mao again, but Mizuha tells him to confront it head-on, and if he fails, she'll be there to comfort him. Keiki tries talking to Mao, promising to whatever it takes for her to forgive him, so she asks him to have a romantic relationship with Shuma. Keiki's brain blue screens for a moment, and Mao explains that she's a fujoshi, writing a popular and very raunchy BL manga based on him and Shuma. Everything thus far has been in pursuit of BL, and Keiki feels stupid for worrying. However, Mao is later seen calling Keiki an insensitive idiot. Later, Keiki discovers another letter, with a picture of him diving into Sayuki's twin mountains. His life is over. Keiki visits the astronomy room in response to the blackmail letter. Later, he films a video of Yuika bouncing around in a bunny girl outfit. Sayuki's conditioned for her joining the calligraphy club. Mao bribes her way in by giving Sayuki a copy of one of her popular BL manga. Although Sayuki and Yuika are at odds with one another, they bond over Mao's risque manga. As they begin club activities, Keiki laments that their club has become a den of perverts. The day before, he met Koharu, the president of the astronomy club. She asks him to play the Cupid for her and Shuma, whom she has a crush on. She threatens to show the very damaging picture of him and Sayuki together. When he asks how she got it, she explains it was while she was conducting club activities, which turns out to be plain voyeurism. Keiki says that she's exactly Shoma's type since she's small and cute, but she laments that she's a senior. Keiki tries to tell her this might be impossible, but she threatens him with a photo again. Later, he sees Mizuha walking home with groceries. He accompanies her, buys her an ice cream cone, and helps her home. When they arrive, seeing her in her uniform gives him an idea. The next day, Keiki conceals Koharu's ribbon with her parka and changes her senior skirt with a freshman's. This, adding to Koharu's use of the word senpai, successfully fools Shuma into thinking she's a freshman. Shoma thanks his Keiki profusely for making his dream come true. And later, Koharu does the same. The following day, Koharu notices Keiki is in distress, and she offers to lend an ear. When she learns about his predicament, she suggests that there might be a fifth Cinderella, since anyone could have entered the room. Keiki sees out Akita to gather more information, but as he passes by a staircase, he saves Fujimoto, the student council vice president, from falling. As she lays on top of him, she suddenly says she wants to be with him. Keiki learns from Okita that she passed by Fujimoto during the day he discovered the love letter. He meets with Fujimoto. She gives him some handmade cookies and hugs him to recharge. Otori's stalking, or rather research, has yielded Fujimoto as a capable and exemplary student, and her constant encounters with Keiki cannot be mere coincidence. It is very possible she is the Cinderella. While planning his next move, Keiki falls victim to Yuika's tripwire. While she harasses him, he accidentally lays a hand on her chest, causing her to run out, just as Fujimoto arrives to conduct a club audit. Afterwards, she invites him on a town cleanup. He shows up with Sayuki the next day, who insisted on accompanying her master. While picking up trash, Sayuki sneaks Keiki away under a bridge, where, in a fit of jealousy, she pounces on him. Remembering his grandfather's words on how to deal with unruly dogs, he firmly needs her cake, which successfully gets her to stop, but this only fuels Sayuki's desire to be his dog. Later, Otori trips and falls into a nearby creek, and Keiki helps her up and offers his jacket. The next day, Keiki updates Shuma regarding his Cinderella problem, and how Otori is a suspect. They bump into each other, but Otori strangely shies away from him, and he wonders if he smells bad. Later, Otori invites Keiki into the club room for some chamomile tea and apple pie as thanks for the day before. But the calming nature of the room and atmosphere causes him to feel drowsy, and seeing Otori fall asleep, he decides to take a nap. When he wakes up, Otori is attempting to remove his underwear, and she reveals she has a smell fetish, constantly craving the body odor of men, specifically him. She asks him again for his underwear, and he says no. Keiki accompanies Shuma and Otori, and he fears that as soon as her being a senior is discovered, Shuma will lose all interest. Keiki suggests that they go on a double date. Through the process of elimination, he brings along Sayuki, the least hassle girl to deal with. Keiki bribes Sayuki with a taiyaki to keep Otori being a senior a secret. Even though Sayuki has never bowled in her life, she proposes penalties for whoever scores the lowest. The person who comes in fourth will have their face scrawled on with markers, while the third placer gets to ask for whatever they want. She's confident that there is no way Otori can bowl, but she's given a nasty shock when she sees how skilled she is. Keiki's glad they're getting along, and notices that Otori is filming everything. Eventually, Otori wins. She asks that she be able to call Shuma, Shuma-kun, which successfully melts his heart. Otori thanks Keiki for all his help, but she has to come to a decision. She will confess to Shuma her true feelings as her true self, all while wearing her lucky pink underwear. Keiki follows them closely. Otori confesses her feelings to Shuma, recalling how they first met on this same street a year ago, after he retrieved her hat for her. She reveals she's a senior, and as expected, Shuma turns her down, because he's a lolicon. Keiki talks with Shuma and tells him how much bravery Otori had to muster just to talk to him, and turning her down for a reason like "I'm a lolicon" is unfair. Shuma replies that he has turned down many girls in the past, but it never hurt quite like this. Keiki cheers Otori up by complaining how much of a lolicon Shuma is. Shuma drops by and asks if they can start off as friends as a form of rehabilitation. Otori agrees, but when Shuma opens the lights, he sees the entire room is covered in voyeur photos of him, and he wonders if he can really date a senior. Keiki is nowhere closer to discovering Cinderella's identity. He absentmindedly walks into the bathroom where Mizuha is changing. Other girls might respond violently, but she politely asks him to leave. Keiki later asks Mizuha what she would do if someone wanted him to be a master, to be a pet, or to sniff someone's clothes. In all cases, she says she would call the police, but if he truly wants to fall in love, she'll support him. Sayuki drops by, yearning for Keiki's affection. She puts on a dog outfit and asks to be treated like a pet. When he tries refusing, she threatens to show Mizuha the BL manga featuring him and Shuma. While rubbing her belly, she embraces him into her chest. Mizuha walks in on them and apologizes for intruding. Keiki tries to explain what was happening, but all he does is dig his own grave. Afterwards, Yuika pays him a visit, hoping to discipline him. Just like Sayuki, she pressures him into wearing a bunny boy outfit by threatening to show Mizuha the BL manga. Yuika offers to give him her underwear as a reward, but Mizuha walks in on them and no amount of explanation or expensive lawyers could get him out of this mess. Mao gives Keiki a call, asking if the other girls dropped by. He confirms that they did, and very bad things happened. She asks him if he ever had a girlfriend and if he ever considered her as a candidate, but she quickly says it was just a joke. Mizuho is a bit upset with Keiki because of how many girls seem to be all over him, and she wants to be reassured that he's still her beloved older brother. Later, Keiki discovers that the Cinderella's underwear is missing from underneath his bed. When he reports this to Shuma and Otori, they conclude that either Sayuki or Yuika took the underwear, eliminating Mao as a suspect entirely. To discover who it is, Shuma suggests they go around flipping skirts, and Otori volunteers to conduct some reconnaissance, but Keiki has a far more daring plan to flush out the culprit by going on a date with Sayuki. Keiki assumes the role of Sayuki's master for the day, and he plans on taking her on a series of amusement park rides to catch a glimpse of her underwear, to see if she is Cinderella. When Sayuki seems overly conscious of her skirt, Keiki is even more suspicious, but Keiki's gambit fails, and he sees nothing. Sayuki asks to ride a Ferris wheel where she can freely indulge in her pet fetish. Later, she thanks him for humoring her, knowing how much effort and research he put in. They make one last visit to a calligraphy display, where Sayuki's work is chosen as the special selection. He praises her for her hard work and walks her home. But on the way back, he asks her to lift her skirt. Unexpectedly, she was going commando during the entire date. The next day, she says it was so embarrassing she might refrain from doing it for a while, and he asks her to not do it at all. Sayuki tries to refrain from being overly affectionate to Keiki, but Yuika finds it amusing how patient she's being. She begins to be more physical with Keiki, until Yuika cannot take it any longer and erupts. Sayuki runs out and they stop talking to each other. After speaking with Otori, he resolves to make things with her. He confronts her in the club room, where he learns she was acting aloof all this time because she thought he was doing a neglect play and playing hard to get. He finally confronts her regarding the missing underwear in his room, which she readily admits to. But when she lifts her skirt, it turns out she stole boxers from his dresser, as she asks him to wear hers in exchange. He concludes that Sayuki is not Cinderella, just a regular pervert. He later walks home with Yuika, and due to the rain, he's stranded in her house. He uses this golden opportunity to search for the Cinderella underwear, but he's caught in the act. With a threat of a photo of him digging through a girl's drawer, he agrees to be her slave. Keiki begins his period of servitude to Yuika, indulging her every whim. Sayuki astutely guesses that their relationship is built on blackmail. The two girls suddenly put Keiki on the spot and ask him if he likes them big or small. You can chain Keiki's body, but you can't chain his will, and he proudly declares he likes him big. The next day, Yuika has Keiki dress up as her butler. After a punishing day shopping, Yuika jumps into the shower, but she yelps out due to a spider. Keiki walks in, and even though she was the one who cried for help, she smacks him on the head. After apologizing to her, Yuika lets him sit on the bed. She explains that she was shunned growing up due to her appearance, but she was okay as long as her grandmother was around. When she passed away, she felt a bit betrayed, but she was glad to have met Keiki, the first person to treat her so kindly. She visited the library every day in hopes that he would talk to her. Keiki finds this very touching, but he discovers a pair of his boxers under her pillow, and she admits that she took it and may have slightly sniffed it. With this, Keiki is freed from slavery. Later, he and Shuma lament their situations. Shuma discovers that Otori had hundreds of DVD footage of him, plus a diary that recorded his life in 10-minute intervals. Keiki shares that he saw Sayuki wearing his boxers. Later, Mao grabs Keiki and uses him as a drawing reference. She explains that she was contacted by a publisher to try publishing a one-shot shoujo manga. But since she's never written that genre before, she asks him to be her boyfriend purely for reference material. Afterwards, he bumps into Fujimoto, who after recharging through his scent gives him a free ticket to the pool, good for 5 people. He goes to invite Otori and Shuma, but both turn him down. While helping them pick up the photos that Otori took while stalking Shuma, he finds a photo taken minutes with him discovering the love letter. He just might have discovered who the Cinderella is. Keiki brings the entire calligraphy club plus his sister to the pool, which is a very important part of his plan to flush the Cinderella girl out. He has them all wear swimsuits he handpicked for each of them, because he somehow knew all their exact sizes. After putting it on for them, they head out to the pool to enjoy themselves. Mizuha goes somewhere else after seeing how popular he is with the girls, but Keiki chases after her. When she gets a leg cramp, Keiki carries her out, which reminds her of a similar incident from when they were kids. They meet Otori, who asks Keiki and his friends to participate in a special event she's working part-time for. They will be publicly confessing to the person they like in front of a crowd, with a machine measuring the crowd's cheers to determine their score. The girls each give their own passionate confessions aimed towards Keiki. Sayuki says he's kind and finds his reactions cute. Yuika appreciates how patient he is and how good he takes care of her. Mao finds him fun to hang around and declares that she only has eyes for him. Mizuha loves how he always keeps her company and how she enjoys cooking for him, boldly declaring her love at the end. Mizuha wins by an overwhelming margin, and she wins the grand prize, a bottle of dishwashing soap. Later, Keiki speaks with Mizuha about how unexpected her win was. He says a silent apology and flips her skirt, revealing that she is indeed the Cinderella girl. Keiki shares his findings and how he concluded she was the culprit, as she openly admits it. She asks him if it is so wrong for her to love him, and he obviously says yes, because they are siblings. However, Mizuha points out that their birthdays are a mere 5 months apart. She gives him a kiss, and reveals the two are not siblings at all. After waking up from a dream involving him marrying Sayuki, Keiki finds Mizuha in his bed, giving him a morning kiss. Mizuha has become more aggressive as of late, and since it has come to this, Keiki does the one thing he does best: run away. He confirms with his father the two are not blood-related, and he reports this to Shuma and Otori. He hopes to crash at either of their place, but Shuma has family staying over, while Shuma might kill him if he sleeps at Otori's. He wanders around until he meets Mao, who just recently pulled an all-nighter. She encourages him that a fight between siblings is normal, but she points out that Mizuha has always been kind to him. Meanwhile, Mizuha grows worried for Keiki's safety. When Keiki spoke to his father, he confirmed that Mizuha was adopted. Regardless of blood relations, she's still family, and his father says that she's his favorite. As it starts to rain, they both reflect their mutual love and care for one another, that when no one else was there, they were there for each other. Mizuha goes out in search for Keiki, and she finds him collapsed in the rain. She brings him home and prepares some porridge for him to eat, while both Sayuki and Yuika pay him a visit, eager to take advantage of him while he is weak to return to the kindness he has shown them. But the pair end up causing more trouble than they're worth, and Mizuha drives them off. As he lies in bed, he thinks about none of the calligraphy girls were the Cinderella, and if only they weren't such huge perverts, he may have fallen for one of them. He speaks with Mizuha through the bathroom door, and he asks her when she first fell for him. She replies it was the first time they met, where right after she lost her family, he said that he would be her new family, that they would always be together. Keiki has come to a decision. No matter what, he will continue to be her older brother just like before. The pair embrace, and even though Mizuha's towel falls off, the two just laugh about it. As the pair reconcile, Keiki's life goes back to normal, although he laments that he will remain girlfriendless for another summer. One day, Mizuha invites him out on a date where he discovers her own fetish, exhibitionism. She asks him to accept her for who she is and be her boyfriend. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on the notification, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.